Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Israel Wake Up. This is our Women Advanced Bible Study Night. The 12th of June, 2025. Okay, I'll be dealing with topic dealing with Trump disturbing vision of America's what he thinks America's family is supposed to be. So we're gonna go into that. Okay, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening, check out our videos. We have over 100 or so videos on this channel that you can look at, examine, and get the meat out. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. Okay. This is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Savior and our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. Okay, consists of our culture, our language, our way of life as Hebrew Israelites. This channel was created to aid and assist all Hebrews who are waking up in these last days to their true identity. Shalom and welcome to the channel, and welcome to our Women's Advanced Bible Study. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, Psalms, and then we have our Women's Health Moment with Michelle. Do our current events, need to know information. We'll open it up with questions and comments, dialogue, and then we have our topic for discussion, which is how we go into how the IMF Bank, World Bank, and how it crushed our African economy. We're going to deal with that, okay? Some need to know information. And then I'll be talking about, like I said, Trump's disturbing the vision, Trump's disturbing vision of and his cronies of America, how American family is supposed to be, the makeup of it. Okay, then we'll pick a scripture out and we'll read that scripture and then we'll break it down. Okay, then we'll close out. Okay, this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in the last days. Okay, oh Lord, we come before thee, bow down with great respect for our Redeemer. Oh Lord, to confess through the prophet Isaiah that you would return unto us and that you would pour out your spirit upon us. And this you have done, O Lord, in great fashion. Because of this, O Lord, we have found you within the Holy Scriptures. O Lord, behold, thou hast made the heavens and the earth. By thy great power and thy stretched out arm, there is nothing too hard for thee. And knowing all these things, O Lord, we eagerly await thy coming, the day in which thou wilt break the yoke of our oppressors. Peace be unto you. Okay. So with that being said, we'll read the Psalms. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna read Psalms 7. It's a prayer for deliverance. It's, Lord my God, in thee do I put my trust. Save me from all them that persecute me and deliver me, lest he tear my soul like a lion, rending it in pieces, while there is none to deliver. O Lord my God, I have done this. If there be iniquity in my hands, if I have rewarded evil unto him that was at peace with me, yea, I have delivered him that without cause is my enemy. Let the enemy persecute my soul and take it. Yea, let him tread down my life upon the earth and lay my honor in the dust. Selah. Arise, O Lord, in thy anger. Lift up thyself because of the rage of mine enemies, and await for me to the judgment that thou hast commanded. So shall the congregation of people compass thee about for their sake. Therefore return thou on high. The Lord shall judge the people. Judge me, O Lord, according to my righteousness and according to my integrity that is in me. Oh, let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish the just. For the righteous God trieth the heart and the reins. My defense is of God, which saveth the upright in heart. God judges the righteous, and God is angry with the wicked every day. If he turn not, he with his sword, he hath bent his bow and made it ready. He hath also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordaineth his arrows against his persecutors. Behold, he travaileth with iniquity, and have conceived mischief, and brought forth falsehood. He made a pit and dug it, and he fallen into the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealings shall come down upon his own plate. I will praise the Lord according to his righteousness, and I will sing praises to the name of the Lord Most High. So that was Psalm 7. Okay. There's two things I want to shine a light on. The first one was I've been showing this forever and ever, but it says we notice that in this psalm, this priest is telling us that I start with verse 9. Oh, let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish of the just. So he's asking the Lord of hosts to do this. Establish the just, for the righteous God trieth the heart and the reins. My defense is of God, which saveth. Notice he's saying God. My defense is of God, which saveth the upright in heart. God judges the righteous, and God is angry with the wicked every day. I was telling you about this before. So 12 tells you who it is. If he turn not, he will with his sword, he have bent his bow and made it ready. So we know Yahweh don't have no sword. So we know what it is they got the sword. That's who he praying to, the Lord of hosts. But you keep going, and then it says, he have also prepared for him the instruments. So Lord of hosts have prepared for the wicked the instruments of death. He ordained his arrows against persecutors. Behold, he travaileth with iniquity, and have conceived mischief. It's the wicked, and brought forth. That's what we dealing with, wicked people. And he had brought forth falsehoods. They lied to us about the New Testament. He made a pit. He digged it, and it's fallen into the pit which he made. So the wicked, same what the wicked did right here, they're gonna do it in what we looking at. Same thing gonna happen to the wicked. 15. He made a pit. He dug it, and he fallen into the ditch of which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violence. See that? They brought us over here violently, right? His violence dealings shall come down upon his own plate. I will praise the Lord according to his righteousness, and I will sing praises to the name of the Lord the Most High. So that song right there is telling me that we don't have nothing to worry about. That's what he did to the wicked in the past. He's gonna do it to the wicked that's coming. Any comments, questions?
Shalom. Wasn't that the time that the Benjamite Cush had was telling them that David had slandered Saul?
I'm not. What's the title say? I think it. What's
The
the title
title
say?
says, in my thing, it says the confidence in God's deliverance, and it mentions that during this time there was about the attack from the Cush, the Benjamites, that he could have trust with God. That means when David was under the attack from Cush, the Benjamite, all he could do was trust God. And I was thinking on that. So my summary on that was that even though you have enemies, the Lord will help you. But if you are in the wrong, the Lord will also punish you, because if you were in the wrong, like he said, judge me. If he was in the wrong, he was asking the Lord of hosts to judge him if he was in the wrong on what was going on when you read
Right.
that.
Exactly. He said,
Yes, sir.
judge him according to his righteousness. Right. Okay. Uh, Anybody else? Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna go to our women's health moment with Michelle.
Yes, sir. Shalom, everyone. Please note that the information that is shared is intended for general, informational, and educational purposes only and is not medical advice or recommended treatment. Tonight's discussion is on spiritual and physical health. Did you know that your spiritual health directly impacts your physical health? The Lord of hosts created you as a whole person, body, mind, and spirit. When your spirit thrives, your body often thrives too. Our spiritual health is nourished by deepening our relationship with the Lord. Regular praise, prayer, scripture reading, and fellowship with like minded people are essential practices. These activities keep our spirit aligned with the Lord's will and provide strength in times of challenge. Here are some ways your spiritual life impacts your physical health and how you can better care for your body by strengthening your walk with the Lord. Peace. Peace reduces stress and lowers blood pressure. Stress is often called the silent killer because it quietly damages your body over time. Chronic stress can lead to high blood pressure, heart problems, weight gain, and a weakened immune system. God's peace lifts the weight of your stress, and that helps you face challenging situations with calm confidence because you know that God is with you in helping you. Worshiping with gratitude improves your immune system. Worship is a lifestyle of recognizing God's goodness and responding with praise. So, practicing gratitude flows naturally from worship. You should find reasons to be thankful, even in hard times, because God is still with you, working all things out for your good. Your perspective shifts when you begin to count your blessings and thank God for them. Stop focusing on what's missing in your life and start seeing how much God has given you. 3. Trusting God improves sleep. Far too many people struggle with insomnia due to worry, regret, or fear. Learning to trust God fully allows you to get restful sleep. Psalms 4 and verse 8 says, I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, makest me dwell in safety. Your nervous system calms down when you truly believe that God watches over you. You no longer have to worry about possible disasters or replay failures in your mind. Trusting God involves resting in reality that God is with you and for you, no matter what happens in this fallen world. That confidence allows your mind to settle and your body to rest. Purpose driven encourages healthy choices. Focusing on your God given purpose makes you more disciplined and motivated. Purpose driven people are more likely to set goals and follow through with routines. Having a strong sense of purpose in life is associated with better physical health than those who don't feel a strong sense of purpose. Spending time in silence and resting. Spending time in silence and resting can be a valuable experience that provides many benefits. Silence and rest can help you relax and rejuvenate your mind and body. Also, silence and rest can improve your focus on creativity. Genesis 2, verses 2 through 3 illustrates God resting on the seventh day, setting a precedent for us. Adequate rest is not only beneficial for our physical health, but also for mental and spiritual rejuvenation. It allows time for reflection, gratitude, and renewal. Rest is a divine principle established by God during creation. The Tanakh emphasizes the importance of rest, both physically and spiritually. By observing the day of rest, we can rejuvenate our bodies, minds, and spirits, leading to a more balanced and fulfilling life. By following the wisdom in God's word, We can lead a balanced, healthy life that honors Him and benefits ourselves and our families. I will be reading Proverbs chapter 17, verse 22. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. Tonight's discussion was on a spiritual and physical health, and I read Proverbs chapter 17, verse 22. Shalom, everyone.
Okay, appreciate that information. Yeah, so many times people have believed that, you know, they only look at the physical side of being healthy, not realizing that the body and the soul has to be in a line for to truly be physically healthy. So that was a good presentation. Okay, we're gonna go to our current events, um, and we'll play each video and then we'll talk about it as we go. Okay.
Man or a black woman, and you're in the military, the Air Force and the Marines to be exact, you might get kicked out if you have razor bumps or ingrown hairs. Now, the technical term is PFB. Now, I ain't gonna give you the long name because I'm gonna jack it up. But nevertheless, if you suffer from that and you don't get better somehow, you may be kicked out. They said they are no longer issuing waivers to excuse servicemen and women from shaving because, you know, shaving makes it worse. Right now, most of us have known a black man. We've seen them with razor bumps on their face and on their necks, right? And a lot of times they can't shave. So typically they were allowed to have some sort of a beard for medical reasons, right? So they were medically exempt from that. But again, dermatologists say, well, that affects 60% of black men. Now, I will say this, of course, is going on under the Trump administration, and this waiver has been in place military-wide since the 1970s. But again, it's going on under the Trump administration. And I say, well, all right, if they want to kick you out of the military because of razor bumps, good. It sounds like they're doing you a great service. Let them folks or them other people who don't have razor bumps go and fight those wars and make it do what it do. Because as black men, you never benefited from any of those wars. You come back here and experience extreme racism and white supremacy under the same government and sometimes within those troops that you were fighting alongside, right? So I don't know. It's sad because I know a lot of black men and women who may be affected by that, you know, have served and earned all kinds of things or whatever the case is. But again, that's another example of the United States government telling you, we don't want you here. Because it is said that it's specifically targeting black service people. So I don't know. Sounds like it's a win-win. Let them go fight their own wars. And black man, you sit home and find something else to do, right? Especially if a draft comes up, say, oh, nah, partner, I got razor bumps. I can't fight. Y'all gonna have to sit this one out or let me sit this one out, right? So anyway.
Okay. Any comments on that? What do you think?
Shalom. Yeah, sounds like racial profiling, far as the shaving profile that they would get if they receive those razor bumps on their faces. And so he has probably had someone to look in the ratio of how many people, men, and with the blacks against the whites or whoever, the other races. And it shows, like she said, the percentage of blacks or higher than any other. So be willing to go for that just to take them out.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Go to this next video.
A story that hits home for every American, no matter who you are or where you live. This isn't just another headline. It's a pivotal moment that's going to affect our lives, our neighborhoods, and the food on our tables. All across the country, our farms are going quiet. Fields that used to be full of life now sit empty, overrun with weeds, as the backbone of rural America starts to give way. In the heartland, a crisis is unfolding quietly. Small towns that once buzzed with activity now feel deserted, their futures hanging by a thread. U.S. farm exports have plummeted by a staggering 94%. This isn't just a bump in the road, it's an unprecedented collapse. Ports that used to be packed with outgoing shipments are now eerily still, containers untouched, cranes at a standstill. For generations, America was known as the world's breadbasket, feeding our own people and millions more around the globe. Our farmland stood for prosperity, strength, and hope. But now that legacy is in jeopardy. Today's farms, once at the forefront of innovation, are struggling just to survive. Yields are dropping, debts are piling up, and the future looks more uncertain than ever. This crisis isn't just about numbers, it's about real people. Like the Iowa farmer whose family has worked the same land for generations, now facing a future full of uncertainty. Truck drivers who used to haul fresh produce across the country are now parked as highways grow emptier and shipments slow to a trickle. Families in cities like New York are starting to wonder how much longer they'll be able to afford groceries. The effects are everywhere, even if not everyone sees them yet. This export crash isn't just an economic hit, it's a threat to our security, our communities, and our way of life. Equipment rusts, markets close, and livelihoods vanish. The silence spreading across our farmlands is deafening. Fields are empty, ports are quiet, and jobs are disappearing. The heartbeat of rural America is fading, and with it, a vital part of who we are as a nation. For many farmers, the American dream is slipping away. Generations of hard work and hope are now at risk of being lost. Our team has traveled from the Midwest to the coast to see firsthand what's happening. We've seen heartbreak, resilience, and the determination of folks who refuse to give up. We've talked to people on the front lines, farmers, truckers, business owners, and dug into the numbers that tell a story of struggle and hope. The stats are tough, but the personal stories are even more powerful. So what does all this mean for your family, for our country, for the future of our food and the communities built around farming? The answers aren't simple, but understanding them matters. This crisis is about more than just money. It's about our national identity and what we stand to lose if we don't act. America's farm crisis is everyone's story. It's about hardship, grit, and hope, and it starts right now. What are farm exports? It's a question that goes far beyond just crops and numbers. It's about the very foundation of our nation's prosperity and the heartbeat of rural America. Simply put, farm exports are the food and agricultural products that American farmers work tirelessly to grow and raise, then sell to people in other countries. Think of corn, soybeans, wheat, and meat, staples that fill dinner tables around the world, all grown right here at home. For example, a Kansas farmer might harvest far more wheat than his community could ever consume. That surplus is loaded onto trucks, stored in silos, and eventually shipped to places like Japan or Mexico, where it becomes bread, noodles, and more. Numbers alone can never show. David Miller, a fourth-generation Nebraska farmer, watched in disbelief as his corn contracts were canceled overnight. The elevator is full. There's nowhere for it to go. I have loans to pay. For the first time, I don't know if we'll make it. For David, farming isn't just a job. It's a legacy, a way of life passed down through generations. Now, that legacy is at risk, and the uncertainty weighs heavily on his family. In Greenville, Iowa, Maria Sanchez was forced to close her beloved diner after 20 years of serving her community. Farmers were our best customers. When they stopped coming, my business was gone. The whole town is dying. Maria's story is echoed by countless small business owners whose livelihoods depend on the health of local agriculture. The ripple effects are felt in every corner of these rural towns. Young farmers like Sarah and Tom, who poured their savings and hopes into starting an organic farm, now face bankruptcy. We invested everything. Shipping costs tripled, contracts vanished. We may lose the farm before we ever had a chance. Their dream of building something new for their family and community is slipping away, threatened by forces beyond their control.
So notice what it says, 94% collapse. So that's right now. So anybody got any comments on that? Okay, so with that being said, we go to some need to know information. Like we've been talking about this over especially last month or so, month and a half, about why Black people are not coming out in the streets, and they're trying to find some kind of way to get them to come out in the streets. We're gonna listen to this and get some feedback.
to my black brothers and sisters out there that are the ones that are posting all this, oh, we just gonna mind our business. And I saw some.
It's a white boy talking, not a brother.
Somebody earlier making T-shirts of like a group of like 6 black people, black men and women sitting on a bench, texting on phones while the country is burning up behind them. Let me explain something to you guys. Let me explain something to you. When they get done with the brown people, they'll be coming after you. And if you don't think that's true, you got another thing coming. This is bigger than you, okay? Because let me explain another thing to you. You sit back and watch millions of brown people be kidnapped and removed from this country. When they do come after you, there's going to be nobody left to stand up for you. And when they're coming after you, how are you going to feel when people are sitting on the sideline like, oh, we just going to mind our business? All this other dumb shit doing, man, no. There's not the time for that. Power to the people. It's time to come together.
Woo, that'll do it. You don't have to worry about me. You do not have to worry about me. Woo, that'll do it. You don't have to worry about me. You do not have to worry about me.
You know what's crazy to me, bro, is when they had the BLM protest, everybody was popping out. Every celebrity, YG, the Ball brothers, everybody was popping out. All the sports teams putting BLM on their back, you know what I'm saying, wearing BLM shirts, you know what I'm saying, freedom, wearing all these shirts. I'm talking about the NBA right now, actually. Where is that now? Where are the celebrities now? Where are they protesting now? Where are the teams now? Why is nobody speaking up? Even Kendrick Lamar made a song. Lil Baby made a song. But where's everybody now? Where's all the celebrities? Why is nobody popping out now? Now that everybody's protesting in Los Angeles, San Diego, Chicago, because of ICE, where is everybody now? Why is nobody speaking up? Why is just the minority speaking up now? You feel what I'm saying? Nobody's talking. Nobody's speaking.
I've been seeing so many people asking Asian creators to speak up about the whole riots in LA and all these deportation things. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand. Asian people, we support the country. We support, the betterment of the country. We support that. So what is there to say? What is there to say? We support the deportations of illegals. It is honestly tiring because here's the thing. We want the country to be better. We want the country to be better. We want the country to, if you did it legally, if you stand in line, if you paid the price, right? You paid the money and all that, you did all the process, the paperwork, all the stuff, which usually most Asian people do. Why would we care about someone jumping in line, crossing the border and all this stuff? Why should we, be happy about that? The US promised, or this presidency promised that they would deport illegal immigrants. They're doing that. Why are you crying? They're doing that. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? Why are you crying about it? This is a thing where, you see it like these immigrants are waving the flags of other countries, burning down the flag of the US, and then you think Asian people want to support that? No, they want to stay away from that. They don't want to be grouped in with these people. That's the thing. Asian people want to, focus on themselves and their community and their country. They don't want to be grouped in with these people. That's the thing. Asian people want to, focus on themselves and their community and their country. They don't want to be grouped in with these people. So really, stop asking Asian influencers to speak up about it because you won't like what they say. You won't like what they say. So really, it's better off that they do the content that they're doing instead of, say things you don't like. Because here's the thing: Asian people don't want to focus on the negativity and, say what they're really thinking. Deport, right? Deport illegal immigrants. They are fine with it.
Bro, you came here illegally, so you're getting sent back. Like, I'm not really understanding where I'm supposed to feel bad. Like, it's the law. Like, then what? Am I missing something? Like, we also can't do that. We can't go to other countries illegally and just pop up and start working and all of that without things in order, without abiding by their laws. And to be honest, it's a much worse punishment if we end up doing that.
I feel like America is being generous. Y'all are getting caught and then being sent by a plane or sent by a bus back home. That's pretty generous if you ask me. Like if I go to Russia and try to pull that off, I might not come home. They might lock me up for 50 years for trespassing. Like I'm confused. The media is trying to make us feel bad. And they're like, oh, this person was 15 years old. He was a hardworking boy. He was in high school, blah, 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 and he was an illegal immigrant from Guatemala. Bro, you lost me. You lost me. He's illegal. So I'm sorry. Like, that's just what happens. I can't feel bad no more. Everything you said before that is disregarded. I'm sorry.
So let's just be real for a second, right? Dealing with this whole situation of people being deported, being grabbed off of the streets, coming into a different country and all this other type of stuff. Let's just make this factually clear. If you take 10 to 15 million Black Americans and they decided
Okay.
go into another country of which is not their origin, of which they have no citizenship, of which they have no skin in the game, of which they never paid any type of tax dollars or anything like that, right? If you took those 10 to 15 million Black Americans, any country in the world, and at a point in time, the government got fed up, they got just tired of dealing with the Black Americans being there. They were like, yo, we're going to deport you guys, we're going to send you guys back. Do you think that anybody around the world would really feel sorry for those 10 to 15 Black Americans? The resounding response, answer, is no. Other Black people would not feel sorry for them. Latins wouldn't feel sorry for them. Asians wouldn't feel sorry for them. Africans wouldn't feel sorry for them. Those from the islands would not feel sorry for them. Europeans would not feel sorry. Nobody would feel sorry for them. Because people are like, why would you leave America to go somewhere else? Who told you to do that? Well, this is what you get. You found out and messed around. It will be all of those things that people will say. But now, for whatever reason, everybody's like, these people, they came over here, yada, 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 no matter what the reason is. They came over here and did this, did that, and all this other type of stuff. It's very bad that they're getting deported. It's very bad that these things are happening. Black people, we need you guys to stand up. Stand up what? I just gave y'all a short clip. It was about 12 to 15 seconds. It was on CNN, some mainstream media. And you saw what seems to be a Black American. Because again, we can't really tell because the mask is on, but I'm just going by the melanation that is there and the haircut, right? What seems to be a Black American male being arrested. Now, regardless or not if that is a Black American male, the fact of the matter that they put that image up there to try to tell people, to try to warn people that, hey, even if it was a Black American, it's like, hey, if we catch you out here, this is what's going to happen. You're the first ones to get arrested, right? Even if it wasn't a Black American male, the image is still put up there in the way that it is in reference to Black American males. Again, to say that, hey, if you decide to do this, this is what is going to happen to you. We are waiting on you. We are just buying the time for you to slide through and think that you're going to, try to protest, and we already got some plans for you. But they're just, doing whatnot or whatever, firebombing Black homes and being a terror directly to those out there in the Black community. I guess y'all thought that we forgot about that. Didn't y'all also have somebody that works in government office making fun of Black people? On top of that, using the N-word as well. This is a Hispanic woman, right? Got her a little bit of white power. She was fooling herself a little bit too much, and she showed everybody exactly what it was. It's very interesting. Ain't y'all the same group of people where we sat up there and told y'all to stop using the N-word, and y'all sat up there and told us that y'all can do whatever it is that y'all want to sit up there and do? So again, time and time again, there's a variety of different instances. Oh, also not to forget, also in Chicago, there was a community or a town hall meeting where somebody that can barely speak English, I know they were able to clearly speak Spanish, was trying to tell a Black woman, oh, no more money for you. No more money for you. No more Section 8 for you. Oh, that's crazy. That's so crazy. Like I said before, y'all want to go out there and talk real crazy to Black Americans, right? Y'all want to try to call us lazy, that we don't work, Y'all want to be like Fat Joe. I mean, he's Cuban. And y'all want to sit up there and say that, we don't have no culture. We didn't create hip hop. We didn't do this. We don't do. It's some crazy work. But now,
Okay. Any feedback on that? What do you think?
Shalom. One thing I think is that when he announced that if we go over to any other nation, any other places to seek refuge, and they want to turn us back as a Black American, back to the America, they would not, and I agree. They would not feel bad because they would say you left a place that you were to go somewhere else that you know that they're not going to accept you, even though you may be the same color skin, but then you don't have their culture, and they don't look at Americans the same because of the media. And that's how I feel certain people have privilege of speaking, because of the media shows a false narrative on our lives and how we live. If anybody can join in with that, that's what I think.
Okay. Anybody else got any comments on that? Okay, so with that being said, we'll open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions, comments about anything they heard yesterday or during the weekend, during Shabbat, or during the men's line, or anything you want to bring up? You want to
Yes,
talk about?
sir. Yes, sir. Shalom, Brother Leonard. Last night you read Exodus chapter 20, right? And
Okay.
I was wanting to know if you could explain verse 4 a little bit. It says, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above or that is in the earth beneath." That's the part I wanted to explain. Or that is in the water under the earth. So, what is it talking about when it says in the water under the earth?
It's talking about lakes. I mean the oceans. The depth. You know how deep they are. They go. You know what I'm saying? They so deep. They go way past. You know what I'm saying? From the level of the ground or the earth that's on top of where the water is, it goes way down past that. It's beneath the earth. That's what it means. Same way uh, like a cave, or what they call those things, abyss. Like when the movie they had, the Descent. Did you see that movie?
Yes, sir.
Those people that go and search out caves and stuff, they went to this abyss in this place in this cavern, and they went way down into it. That's the depth of that is way beneath the level of the earth, the ground, actual I forget what they call it, ground level.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that goes deep down in the ground is beneath the earth.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm
Okay,
saying?
thank you. Yes, sir.
Like, second, like the whales and all that, they go deep, way down, deep into the earth. Another example is when it says that the windows beneath the earth opened up. That's the depth of the ocean, right? So the windows in heaven opened when the flood came, but it also says the windows of the beneath the earth open. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else got anything? Okay. So with that being said, if nobody don't know it, They got a big weekend coming up this weekend. They got Sunday supposed to be Trump's birthday. He's going all out with all these. He's bringing all the tanks, military stuff, equipment, and soldiers and all that to Washington D.C. for a big old military parade. But at the same time, they got all the riots, they got all the protests going on because of the ICE raids. They got them all over the place, but they also got another big movement that's going to be at the same time. It's called No Kings. They got like 18. They expecting 1,800 different locations for protests against the Trump administration over the weekend. So it ain't looking good, to tell you the truth. So with that being said, I want to play this video because this guy is alluding to that.
News alert, there are only 4 days, count them 4, left to get a present for your president for his massive birthday bash. 78 years young, spry as ever. But in today's breaking story, there's one senator who is raining on Trump's parade and has found himself in the spotlight right here for us today for his very candid comments about Trump's pomp and circumstance $45 million birthday spanking. Insert your Stormy Daniels joke here. Unfortunately, it's his reluctant party guests who are going to get butthurt the most, not the birthday boy. The reason is, of course, we have to pay for all of this. So in our featured clip, you'll see what one outspoken hardline budget hawk considers what the ultimate price for this pageantry of ego might exact. But first, an update on Sunday's DC birthday pageantry of ego. 250th anniversary of the U.S. military. Look how much fun this could be.
Preparations are underway for Saturday's military parade celebrating the Army's 250th birthday, which coincides with President Trump's birthday. Fencing has already started going up around Washington, with large crowds expected to descend on the nation's capital for Saturday's festivities. And CBS News Homeland Security correspondent Nicole Skanga joins me now. So, Nicole, good to see you. How many people are expected to show up? And what about demonstrators?
Yeah, Tom, really good to see you too. The U.S. Secret Service, they are the lead for this event, and they anticipate, or rather are preparing for as many as hundreds of thousands of people. Now, if that sounds like a lot, it's basically what you would expect for a normal inauguration, and the security will be very similar too. It's a national special security event that is the highest level of federal law enforcement that can be designated to any sort of special event, be it the Super Bowl or another high-profile affair. We will see Coast Guard on the water, Metropolitan Police Department, DC Police on the road, National Guard in the streets. Though we'll point out the National Guard will be authorized under Title 32, not Title 10, so it's not federalized like what we're seeing in LA, but there will be park police on the mall. There will be thousands of agents and officers. This is the 4th National Special Security event in DC this year alone, so it certainly comes at a really busy time for the U.S. Secret Service and other federal law enforcement officers. There are 9 demonstrations expected. Not all of them have been permitted yet, but rest assured, we're told that those protesters will be separated from the crowds.
Wowza, good times ahead. That looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, quick sidebar before our honest to God great clip of the day. Why would Pope Leo try to upstage all that military might, that cheap message of peace on the very same day? You might have won the Papal Enclave lottery, but stay in your lane, Leo. You're not the chosen one, after all.
Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost has chosen the name of Leo the 14th.
Which brings us to the man of the hour, Rand Paul. He had some pretty spot-on thoughts just recently about this exercise in fiscal stupidity and the message that it sends around the world. Now, anytime you get to hear a jackboot shout-out, well, we're paying attention. Here he is, the lovely and charming Senator Rand Paul. Wonder what he's doing on Sunday.
Your thoughts on the parade that's going to take place? Some Democrats are saying it's a waste of money.
Yeah. Never been a big fan of goose-stepping soldiers in big tanks and missiles rolling down the street. So if you ask me, I wouldn't have done it. I'm not sure what the actual expense of it is. but I'm not really, we were always different than, the images you saw of the Soviet Union and North Korea. We were proud not to be that. And I'm not proposing that that's the image people want to project, but I'm worried about the image that it isn't necessarily the best image to show.
Trump, he's famously whined, we don't have massive military parades like the other big, powerful countries. Well, the truth is that's because in towns all over this country, people line the street and march voluntarily in earnest appreciation for the sacrifice of those who marched before them, honest, sincere, and true. But in the interest of the contrived and the orchestrated vision of the soon-to-be 79-year-old president, here's a quick preview of what we think you might see.
Is it true that eating eggs can cause type 2?
Any comments on that? Anybody know anything about that?
Shalom.
Shalom.
Go ahead, sis.
Yeah, I heard about it, him spending all this money for this parade to just show his birthday, and at the same time that ISIS is collecting and he's using that military to support ISIS and trying to locate the immigrants in Los Angeles and in various other countries. Other cities, like about 4,000 of the National Guards will be assisting ISIS at the same time. Shalom.
Okay. Somebody
Shalom.
else?
Yes. With this parade and everything going, when they first mentioned it, it was like when France, the president of France did a parade, and he said he would like one like that, a military parade. And he said for his birthday, and that's when he was in office, when he was first in office. And now that he's in office now, and this is happening, he wants to collaborate and be with them. Now, the price of this parade is well into 25 million, between 25 million and 45 million dollars, and they haven't really factored in most of or more things that's going to be put in. But back in 1991, it was only $12 million and like $5,000 for something else. But so they're spending a whole lot of money making this thing happen for this just one parade thing. And I want to understand about the Pope. What is he saying again? I mean, did it say anything wrong on he's speaking on?
All right. The Pope came against it. He said he came out and spoke against the parade. And the guy was saying that, he don't have no backbone to even be trying to deal with that. He's not the one to be dealing with it.
Yes, sir. And they also going to have a women's parade. The women are getting out. I don't know what type of women, but on this, they said they're going to have the women's march, is planning to protest their own protests that they're going to set around in the country on that day too. So I don't know what they're going to be protesting, how they're going to be doing it, but they also going to be protesting.
That's for Saturday?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else got anything on that? Okay, yeah. So my topic for discussion is this. Stacey Abrams is the one that brought it forward. So I'm gonna play it because it's packed with a lot of information. And then we'll talk about it. Here we go.
History of forced sterilizations of women of color, people with disabilities in this country. It's very recent. Maybe they aren't going to explicitly say we should forcibly sterilize people, but it's about making sure that certain people aren't born.
Welcome to Assembly Required with Stacey Abrams from Crooked Media. I'm your host, Stacey Abrams. This version of the Republican Party has introduced a host of new avatars for their horrific ambitions. There's Elon Musk and Russell Vogt, names we've learned as they raised the civil service and stole our personal data from government databases to likely auction off to their tech bros. But they did not come to power alone, nor did they come for the sole purpose of decimating democracy. As we discussed with the Atlantic writer David Graham, Project 2025 is a blueprint for the rise of Christian nationalism. Phase 1 was breaking America. Phase 2 is combating the permanence of multiculturalism by promoting policies to solve a numerical conundrum. What is a proto-fascist to do when faced with a demographic transition that will result in an America with no racial majority in less than 20 years, at a time when we're also facing declining birth rates? Now, to be fair, the United States, like several other Western nations, does indeed face a declining birth rate. And this is a reality that presents legitimate challenges. In response, we desperately need policies that support families in a nation with crippling housing costs, with crippling childcare costs, with limited parental leave, and with devastating maternal mortality rates, particularly for Black women. Not to mention the evisceration of abortion access and reproductive health care across the board that has already killed pregnant women. But the Trump administration's approach to policies that encourage people to have children, those policies don't seem to address these dynamics. Instead of a solution that leverages what we already have and what we know works, like the American Rescue Plan, the Republicans have decided to champion an approach rooted in the pro-natalism movement. Their ambition? To bring forth a very specific vision for what American families should look like.
Okay.
This is the biggest magnesium scam. New study reveals
The pro-natalist movement espouses an ideology of higher birth rates, and for some, that means only among white families. But overall, it embraces nearly any means to achieve those birth rates. Elon Musk is an acolyte and unfortunately active proponent of this pursuit when he's not extorting African nations to hire his satellite company's unreliable services. At its core, the movement thrives on fear, warning of an apocalyptic future where declining birth rates among their preferred demography will lead to total economic and societal collapse. Republicans in the administration and unfortunately in Congress have picked up on these ideas and are now proposing incentives to boost birth rates. Among them, a $1,000 baby bonus for every new mother, intrusive reproductive tracking tools, and yes, seriously, a National Medal of Motherhood for women who have 6 or more children, which harkens back to terrible, terrible behaviors during the Nazi regime. Declining birth rates do have troubling implications for our economy and our ability to support an aging population. But the pro-natalist approach raises very serious concerns. You see, it's not just about encouraging larger families. I'm the second of 6 kids. I know about large families. The issue is which families are being encouraged to grow. Much of the movement embraces ideas like genetic engineering to create the, quote, best and brightest. It includes calls to restrict access to contraception and to abortion. And it even flirts with white nationalist conspiracy theories like the Great Replacement, the false belief that there is a deliberate plot to diminish white influence by replacing white populations with non-white immigrants. This vision of America is not new. And when it has been raised before, it has revealed dangerous, insidious, and horrifying policies that were put in place to make it a reality. And so today we will explore the myths and the reality of pronatalism with 2 people who are immersed in the history of the movement and the motivations behind it. Dr. Karen Guzzo, the director of the Carolina Population Center and a professor of sociology at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and the senior writer for New York Magazine's Intelligencer, Sarah Jones. Dr. Karen Guzzo, Sarah Jones, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with the basics. Dr. Guzzo, if you don't mind, I'm going to call you Karen. Would love to have you describe to our audience what exactly is pronatalism and what are the different branches of the movement?
Sure. So pronatalism basically is this belief that there aren't enough babies being born, that the birth rate is too low,
And at the population level, we need to get people to have more births, and really to get women. It's about women to have more births, because our birth rate is too low and it potentially lead to a number of problems down the road. And so there are different groups of people who are worried about different components of the low birth rate. So there are folks like Elon Musk, who is, has talked extensively about population collapse and low birth rates as sort of these existential issues facing the world, and that they are kind of the most pressing issues we face. And so he, as I'm sure you know, is kind of on this personal mission apparently to repopulate the earth. He has many children, and he's doing this, I think, we don't know all for sure, through IVF. And then you have other prominent sort of tech folks who are also using IVF, and they want to not only make sure more babies are being born, but it's sort of the best and brightest, which it skirts really closely to eugenics. Who should be having births and what kind of births we want. And then you have kind of the religious groups who would agree we need to have more births, but they want to make sure we have births that are born within marital unions. And ideally, it's sort of Christian births happening to sort of quote unquote real Americans who are married. And they're really thinking back to this kind of glorified and not entirely real imagined history, really, of kind of the heyday of the family, where people got married young and they had lots of kids. So they're looking back at the baby boom and saying that's what we need to recreate. And then you have this group, and they're not necessarily clear delineations, really. This last group that is really concerned about sort of who's having births and not just their marital status, but really focused on births to true Americans. So they don't want births to immigrants. They don't want births to people who they deem somehow of an inferior race. They don't want other religions necessarily besides Christianity. So Christian nationalism plays a big role in this one. And this is not a new argument in the United States. People have been arguing for a long time about, whether immigrants coming in and they sort of will have more children than real true Americans. And so the pronatalist movement is really concerning for those of us who are worried about making a better life for everybody, because it's really about focusing on certain types of people.
So Sarah.
Okay. Any comments on that so far? Don't raise no alarm bells.
Shalom, which women that they want to have the babies? Which nationality they want?
White women, white Christian nationalists.
Okay. Yeah, it does sound alarmed, because they're knowing that to me, they might have been the most who wanted to do that, the abortions that they were talking about, pro-choice. So now they're really going to be on it more because of the statistics that she says it's a low rate for their kind.
Yeah, first thing when I was listening to this earlier, the first thing came to me was Handmaiden. It's like it's a script from Handmaiden, the movie, the series Handmaiden. And then also eugenics, which is from Hitler. So, like you said, there's nothing new under the sun. They right back to this again. And also, the thing flashed in my head too was Moses, the babies in Egypt. You know why they start trying to kill our babies in Egypt. Okay.
Given the different strains of pronatalism that Karen has described for us, can you talk about why pronatalism has so aggressively entered the public conversation now?
Absolutely. So Karen mentioned Elon Musk, and I see him as being a huge.
So they talk about pronatalism. Natalism is genetically modifying the babies. Okay, like I don't know if anybody was really paying attention to what was going on a couple of days ago last week, when they was talking about what happened to Barron Trump. So he was like got some kind of genetic enhancement, from my understanding. Yeah.
huge factor in sort of the rise of pronatalism as a topic that sort of preoccupies the media at the moment. And for very good reason, given his, his term in the Trump administration and, the influence that he has as the world's richest man. But he's not alone. I think we also have to think about J.D. Vance, our vice president, who's made a lot of comments over the years about childless cat ladies and the need for more births, but very specifically within the format that Karen was talking about when we're talking about Christian nationalism. So these are American births, and they're happening in quote unquote traditional families. So like a heterosexual union and biological children.
And I'm going to stick with you for a second, Sarah. How do you see the conversation about pronatalism intersecting with the Dobbs decision and the changes we are seeing nationally to reproductive health and reproductive rights?
Mm-hmm. That makes me want to go back a few decades, really. I've written a little bit about pronatalism for New York Magazine, and from a personal perspective, because I grew up in an evangelical subculture where people have been talking about the need to have larger families and marry young for a very long time. So in the 80s, when I was born and, my parents decided to homeschool, this was a big topic of conversation. People were worried about the population even then. And not coincidentally, there was the rise of the Christian right as we know it today, and this emphasis on rolling back abortion rights. And in some cases, access to contraception by, reclassifying some forms of contraception as being abortive fashion, even though that's not how they work. And with the Dobbs decision, of course, they really got what they wanted. And so that's an important context for the conversation that we're having now. And I think it's one of the reasons they see this opening to sort of press the attack.
And Karen, what are the legitimate concerns about the falling birth rate in the United States? And I want to connect it back to Sarah's conversation about reproductive health. But let's start with just what are the actual facts about the birth rate in the U.S.?
Look at this. Just look. If this had come out a few years earlier,
So the birth rate in the United States is at a record low. So that is a true point. It's been declining pretty steadily since the Great Recession. We are now on par with some of our peer countries in Europe and East Asia. And so the number that we typically use, the estimate that we use is something called the total fertility rate. And right now it's at 1.63. And what that number measures is a hypothetical woman, if she's to go through her childbearing years at today's current age-specific rates, how many kids might she have at the end of her childbearing years? So it's a hypothetical number. So it assumes that, for instance, today's 20-year-olds, when they are 30, when they are 40, will have the childbearing behaviors of today's 40-year-olds. And so that's not likely to be the case because we know people are waiting longer. We're seeing birth rates increase among people at later ages. So it's not likely to be true, but it's an easy number to estimate. And the reason that draws so much alarm is because there's in sort of the demographic speak, something called the replacement level, which is 2.1. So every woman basically needs to replace herself and a partner. And so if we have a number below that, we start to worry what will populations look like. And so this is a relatively new conversation for the United States to have because compared to our peer nations, we were humming along right around replacement level for quite a while in the late 90s and early 2000s, up until the Great Recession. And so we didn't talk about low birth rates or those issues. And then the Great Recession hit and birth rates pretty steadily fell. And usually birth rates fall during a recession, but they recover, and they didn't. And so now people are starting to have these conversations. Oh my gosh, what does it mean? So when you have low birth rates, and a large population, your population can still grow, but it starts to get older. And so we have the baby boomers entering into their retirement years. We worry about what happens when you don't have enough labor market workers for the labor market, or who pays into Social Security. And so the fix that pronatalists seem to latch onto is we need more births. I would argue, though, that births happening today are already kind of too late to help in the future. So we need to think about other potential solutions to what's happening. So how might we fund Social Security differently? What kind of things might we need in the labor market? How can we care for the elderly?
One of the issues that you raised, Karen, is what's happening with young women. And I'm actually going to tie this to a question for Sarah. Some refer to the religious sector of the pronatalist movement as the, quote, trad branch, which of course brings to mind the trad wife trend on TikTok. And that's where female creators promote traditional gender roles like cooking and cleaning and child rearing. So Sarah, how does this kind of content serve as a gateway into the broader pronatalist movement? And how should we be thinking about either counteracting, contributing, changing what's happening now, and how should we understand it?
Yeah, that content is really interesting to me. I always wonder, with any sort of trend, whether it's tradwives or something else, how much of a constituency does this have offline? But we do know, for example, that even a woman who might be college educated, works full time, the burden of child rearing and housework is still going to fall predominantly on her if she's married to a man. That's, Arlie Russell Hochschild wrote The Second Shift a long time ago, and based on my understanding, not much has changed since then. That's still the basic dynamic. And so I see that content online and I wonder, are they trying to make women feel comfortable with the dynamic that's kind of already in place? Don't question it. I got served a reel the other day on Instagram from someone talking about entering their soft wife era, which, again, many questions. What does that mean? And from what I can tell, it just meant like, accept it, accept it, stop picking fights with your husband and sort of go along with the flow. And so I've been seeing a lot of that. And I do think it's this push to get women comfortable with the fact that we still have so much ground to cover and, so many advances left to fight for. And, there's very much this push telling us not to do that and to sort of be happy with our roles, our traditional roles, and not ask for anything more. But we do know from research that young women, especially Gen Z, Gen Alpha, tend to be, very progressive. So overall, while a lot of the tradwife content is being produced by young women in particular, at this point, it strikes me that they're still outliers as far as their generations go.
So Sarah, you also recently wrote in a New York Magazine article about how, in response to the origination of the pronatalism movement, a group of Black women emerged and started calling themselves the Women of African Descent for Reproductive Justice. Can you talk a little bit more about their work and how their focus on reproductive justice contrasts with pronatalism?
Absolutely. I think this is such important history. So back in the early 90s, this group of women got together to talk about some legislation that was being put forward by the Clinton administration, and that they found, had fallen short in a number of ways. And so they took out ads in newspapers and, really sort of started advancing this notion, this framework of reproductive justice, moving beyond abortion rights as a matter of the right to privacy, but something more all-encompassing and more comprehensive. And I think that's a really important concept to sort of contend with now. Now that especially, Dobbs has killed Roe v. Wade, and we're sort of moving beyond this notion of the right to privacy, and what would it mean and what would it look like to establish a more robust sort of notion of what it means to exercise your reproductive freedom in this country. So a right to housing, a right to healthcare, concepts that, the pronatalist movement isn't contending with.
Karen, I know you understand this, but I'd love for you to talk to our audience about the danger of data erasure that's happening under this administration, especially when it comes to conversations about demography and birth rates and what the pronatalism movement is going to both espouse, but what they're also going to be able to use as support for their policies. Can you talk a little bit about what's scaring you and what's cheering you about what's happening?
Yeah, so there's a lot of data that's really under threat or has already disappeared. So some of it, I've sort of alluded to, the pregnancy risk assessment monitoring surveillance system, that has technically, it remains up and running, except for they've gutted the office. So being able to track, pregnant women and follow them after they've given birth for a number of months and sometimes a couple of years, we need that data to know who's doing well and where, and what sort of interventions they need and what kind of policies work. We're worried about selective data manipulation. So even if data still exists, are they taking out indicators of gender identity or indicators of reproductive behaviors? We actually have In the United States, like our birth certificate system is 50 different states making their own birth certificates. There are some national standards, but who's going to keep running those? Who's going to keep collecting that data? We're cutting things like the National Center for Health Statistics under, the Health and Human Services. And so who actually has access to our data and who will monitor it so we can study trends? So HHS has cut a lot of data. It's cutting information about gun violence and environmental hazards. It's cutting all sorts of information that we would use to really address some of the key issues of reproductive justice.
So I'm going to ask both of you to do something we love to do on Assembly Required, which is give us something to do next. So from each of you, and I'll start with you, Sarah, what can our audience do to learn more about and advocate for the policies that both you and Karen have recommended that we know actually do help families, is actually pro-family?
I'm a journalist, so I'm biased in favor of good evidence-backed journalism, and I would start there. And urge people to really sort of educate themselves on this topic. It's sort of unfair that the responsibility falls on them in this way, but given the sort of cuts that Karen was just talking about, that's sort of the situation we're dealing with. So by all means, educate yourself, and, read about the research, and then think carefully about, the sort of life that you want to lead, the sort of family you want to create, but also talk to your friends and family. I've learned my mother's very conservative, but I've still had some great conversations with her about, her reproductive decisions and what she imagined for her family. And that's been a really important way for us to not only connect, but also to think a little more critically about, the sort of positions that, people like my parents used to hold and the sort of effect they've had on public policy. So, start by researching, but don't be afraid to have these conversations with your relatives, with your friends, with people in your community, and really encourage people to not only think about what they want, but to have empathy and compassion for people who aren't them and, are maybe facing barriers that they don't face.
Okay. Any comments on that? Any feedback? Thank you.
Shalom, Brother Leonard. Like I say, they're always in the lab, right? They love the lab. And the things that they have to do to bring about birth, we do not have to do that, right? Mm-hmm. So I was reading, because I listened to part of that video, and so I was reading a article that talks about that, how they take, the DNA, right, and the living organism, and the things that they do to bring forth these babies, right? And one of, I don't know if she was married to Elon or not, but she had stated that one of their children were genetically modified.
Okay.
She said that on X.
Right.
And like I said, I don't know if that was he married to her or was she just a girlfriend? So he's also experimenting with these things. But we read and have read this several times in Exodus when it says that the Hebrew women were lively. We weren't like the Egyptian women. We're not like the other races, and they're trying to figure out how to do that. Their children are born with so many issues, so many defects. We see that, and they're trying to figure out, how we are so lively, so blessed, but they cannot play with the Lord of Hosts creation. Exactly. They can do it all day long.
Right.
I remember, when I was working for the government, right, and traveling in at NIH, that is one of the creepiest places I have ever visited. Very, very creepy, and they have plenty of labs there.
That's in Maryland, right?
Say that again, sir.
That's in Maryland.
Right. Yes, sir. In Maryland. Yes.
Right.
Sorry about the noise, guys. That's my grandbaby.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff come out of that. It's a lot of stuff when you follow it back. It always it ends up in Maryland. But they find some kind of way to divert it. Yeah. Anybody else?
Shalom, everyone. Like one of the women stated, and we all know this is nothing new. You know, this is something they've been working on for many, many years. And if we just go back and look, back in slavery time, when a woman in the field could work and have a baby and get up that next day and work, whereas that the white woman in the house would lose her baby and she wasn't even doing no work. You know, they know that a strong gene is one that they want to replicate and have for their own, but they don't want to try and make it black. They just want to try and figure out how the Lord of hosts has made us with the ability to do what we do. And in that first segment, when they talked about the declining birth rate and trying to stop, and we go back to seeing that that is trying to stop the black or anyone that is not a Puritan, they call it, from not having more babies, but for them to have it, those women don't want to have children like that. So they do know, like Sister Michelle was saying about Elon Musk's kids, he have so many of them, and he has experimented. Then if the white women won't do it one way, they're trying to figure out another way to do it. Shalom.
Exactly. So it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. When I was talking earlier to somebody about the way everything is unfolding, it's like a perfect storm. So it's not a coincidence that Africa don't have a problem with birth rates, and not
Right.
only that, Africa had the biggest youth population. So that's why they so worried, because they see, like they did. That's the reason people made the prediction they did, that the world gonna be over. 90% of the world gonna be over in Africa by the 2030s because of this very thing right here. But that's not a coincidence. Like I was talking earlier too about how all this gold being discovered in Africa. All this gold being discovered over there. We got the youngest birth rate. You can see it's a perfect storm being set up. Okay. Anybody else?
Shalom, Brother Leonard. It goes all the way back to the creation story, right?
Right.
That's what I meant to say earlier. I'm sorry. But we were created differently. We were created to bring forth children. So again, we are not part of any other nations. That's why he tells us not to mingle with them, right? So a while back, and I kind of cover it every now and then, where it talks about the wet nursing, right? They didn't even want to take care of their children and feed them. The black women had to neglect their children when it came to breastfeeding and breastfeed their children.
Right.
So and Joyce was saying that it's amazing how we cover so many things. Looking back at a video I watched a couple of weeks ago where it was talking about that the black women, right, giving birth, and as soon as they gave birth, they had to get back out in the field and work. And sometimes they said the women would even give birth in the fields and be in labor. Yes.
Right. Exactly. So they worked them all the way through the 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then that's one baby after the next. It ain't just one baby. That's one after the next. Right. So And so they already know, just like these so-called Christian nationalists, they already know the difference in us and them. That's where the hatred coming in there, because They obviously can see the difference. And then, like I said before, it's defects. It's obvious. That's the reason why the Creator told us not to mingle with them, because they have defective genes, and it comes from when the fallen angels came down and mixed with women and brought that angelic DNA and mixed it with human DNA. That's why it's defective. It don't mix, cause defects. And that's where the problem coming in at. But they didn't reword it and rewrote the scriptures to where the average person don't see none of that. Okay. So with that being said, somebody want to pick a scripture out so we can read it and then we'll break it down.
Shalom. In the Apocrypha, Judith, the book of Judith, chapter
Okay.
8. It's a little more than one scripture because we have to see what I'm talking about here. Chapter
Okay.
8, verse 1. Now at the time of Judith heard thereof, which was the daughter of Miriam, the son of Ox, the son of Joseph, the son of Ozal, the son of Elisha, the son of Aniasis, the son of Jidon, the son of Rapham, the son of Asitho, the son of Elu, and the son of Eliab, the son of Nathaniel, the son of Samuel, the son of Salsa Sadal, the son of Israel. And Manasseh was her husband, and of her tribe, and Kinyard, who died in the barley harvest. For as he stood overseeing them that bound sheaves in the field, the heat came upon his head, and he fell on his bed and died in the city of Bethula. And they buried him with his fathers in the field between Darminim and Balumo. As Judith was a widow in her house 3 years and 4 months, and she made her a tent upon the top of her house, and put on sackcloth upon her loins, and wear of her widow's apparel. And she was fastened all the days of her widowhood, save the eves of the Sabbaths, and the Sabbaths, and the eves of the new moons, and the new moons, and the feasts, and the Solomon days of the house of Israel. She was also of a godly countenance, and very beautiful to behold. And her husband Manasseh had left her gold and silver, and manservants and maidservants, and the cattle and lands, and she remained upon them. And there was none that gave her an ill word, or she feared God greatly. Now, when she heard the evil words of the people against the governor, that they fainted for lack of water, for Judith had heard of all the words that Azaz had spoken unto them, and that he had sworn to deliver the city unto the Assyrians after 5 days. I'll just stop there because the whole chapter 8 is a little bit long. But I wanted to ask about that. How I think we had gone over this one time, but not. I don't remember if it was from the Apocrypha, but how Manasseh's wife was just like Sarah. She was beautiful, and everyone looked upon her. And when we open up with this, it sounds as if, and I just wanted to ask the question about, was some of these giants like Mariah, the son of Ox, and then it talks about the son of Joseph, then the son of Ozel. I'm
No,
not
those are
familiar with.
those are Israelites. Those are Israelites. No, that's a lineage that's the lineage of that's Judith. The woman in that story is Judith, and they're going back to show her husband lineage. That's what they're
Okay,
doing.
yes.
Is the Israelite. But the point I want to make is, if you go to, and that's one of the problems. It's got some meat in there, but that's one of the problems I have with the story. You can see that what they did with Judah, they did the same thing with Esther. But if you go to Isaiah, book of Isaiah,
Yes, sir.
chapter 1, verse 1 says, I always talk about this. This says, the vision of Isaiah, son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of. There go the man right there. Uzzah. See that?
Yes,
That's the
sir.
king. Remember, it says governor, but I was
Right.
explaining that governor and king is the same thing. That's another way they brainwash us. But governor and king is the same person, same role. It's just that when they became governors was when Nebuchadnezzar and them came, because Nebuchadnezzar was king of kings. He conquered all these countries, but he left the kings there. But they no longer kings; they governors. But he still left them in place, ruling the people. But they name, their role changed. They role and changed, but their title changed because now he the king. He the king of kings, and they are governor, but they're king, but they're governor. So in the providence of Judea, the king is a governor, but as far as the scriptures, he's still a king. So when you read this right here, Isaiah chapter 1, it says, the vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem, that's the southern kingdom, in the days of Uzzah. So that's during the time of Uzzah. And then after him came Jotham, Ahaz, and then Hezekiah. And we know that's during the time of the Syrians, right? That's what's in that story, the
Yes.
Syrians. So my point is this: if you keep reading that, you'll see that Uzzah is the king. The guy you just mentioned, he's the king. But Judah is telling them what to do.
Yes, sir. I read the whole
That's why I had a
thing.
problem there. Yeah. Right.
Yes, sir.
So
I read on the whole thing, but didn't want to read it all because you said a scripture, but you just clarified that yeah, they changed the whole narrative around
right,
to
exactly.
make it look like it was her
Right.
doing the whole
Because
thing. Yes, sir.
because of what they done in the New Testament. Because they got in the New Testament, they got these women doing all this stuff all over the place. So to justify it, they had to go back in the Old Testament and enhance certain stories to make it look like the women was doing that back in the Old Testament. That's what that is. Like with Esther. Okay. Anybody else got anything? Comments on that, or anybody got anything else before we go? Okay, let me play this here, and then we'll close out.
When you see a Black woman smiling, sometimes it's an open wound to keep from crying. Black woman is trying to find a way out of nowhere. You ain't got to worry about being lost because Black women will find a way. Time after time. But see, it was just last year Time Magazine said it was the year of Me Too. You've been beaten? Me too. You've been broken? Me too. You've been raped? Me too. You've been kneeling and opening your mouth for anthems white men tell you gotta stand for. Me too, but I'm still smiling, still being every mountain high and being blamed for a Black man's low. Still amazing grace, because I'm always saving grace. See, I'm still joyful, coochie placid, a moment for all the world to see. My pain looks like it can be a museum for all the world to see. Looks like breasts and thighs and lips on surgical tables. Looks like I'm a hoe, but I'm twerking. Looks like keep it classy. Looks like my melanin is popping, but these bodies stay popping up, and my pain just so edgy. Cause ain't no pain like a Black woman's pain. Ask Mary. Ask Sabrina Fulton. Ask Mamie Till. Ask the mothers on 4400 Block West Monroe. Ask the mothers in Monroe, Miami, Northwest 27th Avenue, East Harlem, Benghazi, Port Elizabeth, Dixon Circle. They're still smiling. See, this Black woman smiling is Black girl magic. The way I unveil what's underneath, put me in a box, split it in two, and I still come out home smiling. Black women is an entire statue of vibranium skin. It's armor and army. His skin is tough, like Maxine Waters tough, like Serena Williams. But I can't be too tough. I might be calling it. See, like the skin can't coincide between beauty and greatness. Like the gap between my legs can't be bigger than salary gap in the WNBA. Black women's smiles be wide open, teeth gritting, blood dry. But right now, tongues are our tongues that begin to so bad. They say we're suffering from syndrome. They say we're suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic smile disorder. The way the corners of our mouth turn up, we wear it too well, but there is no rest for the weary. See, these smiles look like an entire display of scars. I don't look like what I've been through, dark as these times are. My skin glows. I got that glow in the dark type of liquid in my body. Smile in the form of Michelle Obama. Smile like the portrait of Alice Johnson. Smile like you celebrating because the spines that broke you are sitting up in libraries now. Take every inch of the sleeve your heart's been worn on, the pins and needles you've been working on, and make a quilt for this cold world. Tell them you got it covered. See, we've been bending our backs for broken people, cutting ourselves, trying to pick up the pieces. Superheroes, but they don't give us no cake. But that's all right. We've been, we will, we still keep smiling.
Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I see everybody. We got our men's advanced Bible study tomorrow night, so you can come in through YouTube. Other than that, I see everybody on Saturday morning for our morning Shabbat class. Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown of the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.